Jonathan Marshall does a good job covering the NBA, and he's kind enough to join us for a couple moments on a Tuesday, talking Curry, talking playoffs. What's going on, pal?
Q, I can't complain. How you doing, man?
Everything is pretty well up here. We appreciate a couple moments as always. And, you watch Curry last night knock off a little bit of the rust. I mean, he really didn't have to knock off rust. Forget about the 40. Forget about what he did during the game in regulation. But in overtime is why this guy flat out won the MVP. I mean, he's an unstoppable force. He's the best player in the league. But I made this contention, Jonathan. I'm just wondering if you're on board with this. Is it still, shouldn't we wait a little longer to coronate him as a all-time great, or do you believe right now, you know what, no? Because if he keeps going down this route, he is going to be top 5 all-time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to crown anybody. I mean, he's still pretty young. He's just entering his prime at 28 years old. So to put him up there with the MJs, the Wilts, the Russells, the Magics, and the Birds, still a little too early. But I mean, the way he's going right now, Q, I mean, if he keeps this up for another few years, I mean, obviously he's going to be up there with those names. But, I mean, the bottom line is right now, I mean, he's the best guy in the league right now. He's the most unguardable guy, the most watchable player in the league. And what he did last night in overtime against the Portland team, who, I mean, C.J. McCollum and Dame Lillard, I mean, they were knocking down some tough shots, and Portland was giving them all they had. And for Steph's first game back to not show, any rust late in that game and to just carry that team, that not only the shots that he was making, but the passes that he was making to set up his teammates. I mean, it just shows you just the complete player that he has become.
Yeah, the spacing on the floor as soon as he's inserted into the lineup off the bench. And you're right. I mean, plus 21 with him on the floor. And you mentioned Lillard from Toronto. I mean, man, this kid's a flat-out scorer, too. I mean, real good player, real nice-looking player. I mean, he's capable of putting up 35, 40 for Portland. But, look, at the end of the day, just Golden State is just outclassing people left and right. I mean, now that he's healthy, I haven't looked at the odds all of a sudden, but now that he's healthy, I don't see Portland beating them. And quite frankly, I still think you're going to get OKC and San Antonio to beat the heck out of each other, go 7 games. He's going to get more rest. And I just don't know how any of those two teams respectively can match up, because if it's not Curry, it's Green. If it's not Green, it's Thompson. If it's not Thompson, they have so much depth in their bench. I mean, how do you beat Golden State?
That's a tough one, Q. How do you beat Golden State? Well, you say a prayer and you hope Steph doesn't make it out to the arena that night. And if he doesn't, maybe Klay doesn't make it out. Even still, then, like you said, you got Draymond, you got Hickey. I mean, they just pose so many matchup problems when you can play a Draymond Green at the 5 position. When he's a guy who not only plays tremendous defense, but he can grab the ball off the board and immediately push the ball to the floor. So defensively, if you're defending against the team, you got to be on point. As soon as that shot goes up, you got to get ready to get back on defense, because Golden State isn't letting up. You can have Iguodala, you got Barnes, Livingston, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, so many ball handlers, so many passers. OKC, San Antonio, they don't have those pieces to match up 1 through 8, to be honest.
Talking about a team that hasn't let up, look at Cleveland and what they're doing in the playoffs, especially from beyond the arc. It's unheard of. I mean, they're unconscious at times. And look, when J.R. Smith is knocking down shots at like a 65% clip, you're saying to yourself, are you kidding me? Because now all of a sudden, that's an added dimension. It really is. We talk about Golden State willing to not only drive and kick, but every possession. Forget about half-court offense, Jonathan. Golden State, every possession, it's okay if they chuck up threes here and there. They're willing to give up that shot. Even if you come back down the floor and hit a 2, they're going to hit another 3. But Cleveland's almost taken that MO, that model, so to speak. I mean, look, Atlanta was shot the other night. They just rolled over. They were a soft team. They gave up in that series. They were just mentally deflated. But you certainly have to give credit to Cleveland, because they have this added dimension now. And I think what's going to happen, if they take on Miami or Toronto, one of those teams is going to have to be weary. Look, we really have to defend the perimeter here too.
Yeah, I mean, I think Cleveland has the matchup advantage, whether you're playing against Miami or Toronto, especially when you got guys like Whiteside and Valanciunas being out. So now you got guys like Amari Stoudemire and Josh McRoberts trying to defend the likes of Kevin Love and Channing Frye. I like Cleveland in that. And even with Toronto, you have Bismack Biyombo and Patrick Patterson trying to defend K-Love and Channing Frye. And also you have Tristan Thompson who can definitely outwork those guys on the board. So I think Cleveland is in a great position. I love the way they're playing. Obviously, I mean, facing a Detroit, facing an Atlanta, not the best competition, but still to sweep your first two series, I mean, that's nothing to definitely blink your eye out. So I like the mindset that these guys are in. So one thing I want to see, Q, is when they finally face some adversity. They haven't really faced it. They haven't faced it so far in the playoffs. Everything is cool. I mean, a lot of people think they're a front-running team. Everything's going well when they're winning and they're getting along. So when you're playing a Golden State or a San Antonio, or whoever comes out of the Western Conference, I mean, how are you going to handle going down 0-1 or 0-2 possibly, or losing in the series, or losing losing a couple games back to back? I mean, how are you going to handle just the ups and downs of a series? Because I mean, they really haven't had any challenges so far. So that's what I want to see. I'm not going to just hop on the bandwagon just yet. I want to see how they can handle a little adversity, because it's coming.
It's an excellent point you bring up, because we haven't seen them fall down 0-2 in a series. We haven't seen where LeBron struggles a night and maybe things aren't going well and Love's having one of his off nights, or Shumpert or JR chirping. You're absolutely – and also, too, who does that also put the spotlight on? It also puts a spotlight on the head coach and see how he reacts.
Oh, yeah, I mean, Tyronn Lue, I mean, we all know what happened with David Blatt, that situation. So the pressure's on Lue to justify why he's even there in the first place. So, I mean, there's a lot of pressure on Lue to solidify himself as an NBA head coach, pressure on LeBron to finally win one for the land. It's a lot of pressure that these guys haven't had to face yet. The media hasn't had anything to criticize them for. So that'll be interesting to see, because look at San Antonio, look at Golden State. Both these teams have faced some adversity throughout the playoffs, whether it's San Antonio losing to OKC, Golden State losing a Steph Curry and losing a game in Portland against the ropes in Portland. So we've seen how Golden State and San Antonio, even OKC, we've seen how they've handled sort of these little adversities. So Cleveland has yet to face that. So I still don't know how they're going to handle that just yet, especially considering the ups and downs that we've heard throughout the regular season. So I'm not sold just yet as far as their psyche right now.
1:30 on a Tuesday. We'll take you up to 2. Rich Quinones here. Jonathan Marshall talking a little NBA with him. NBA playoffs in full gear. As far as the Thunder and the Spurs, and you look what Kevin Durant has done really late, as he's come on late in the season, and we saw what transpired in the fourth quarter of Game 4 against San Antonio the other day. I mean, he was just knocking down jumper after jumper, contested jumpers. Look, it was a monster performance. I mean, it really was. But I almost get the sense that we're forgetting about what he's been doing on the other side of the floor with his defense, because, again, he's 6'11". He's using that frame. He was able to kind of frustrate Leonard the other day. But forget about what he's doing offensively, but how about what he's bringing to the table defensively for the Thunder? And if this continues, I mean, this to me has the makings of a 7-game series.
Oh, yeah, I truly feel it's going to go 7. But KD, I mean, at 6'10", I mean, he's one of the more physically gifted players, so we know what he can do. He can drop 40 and 50 on any given night. But I like how he's really focusing on that total game and understanding that he needs to make his teammates better, and that's going to happen if he really utilizes all his skill sets on both ends of the floor. So, I mean, this is a pretty fun series, to be honest. I mean, out of all the series left, this is the most competitive. You have all the stars. I mean, you got San Antonio, the championship savvy guys versus the young OKC team. Is this KD's last run in OKC? Can Russell Westbrook prove his doubters wrong and make wise decisions late in the game? So, I mean, I think this will go 7 games, and Golden State will just be watching, sitting back comfortably to see who stands tall. You know,
everyone kills Westbrook for how many shots he takes, but he's scoring at will. But we forget too, he's distributing the basketball. I mean, he leads the playoffs in assists this year, in right now in the postseason. So again, it's all about the spacing on the floor. I look at San Antonio, and to me, they're still a great team. The Thunder, though, I'm not saying they figure them out, but you can start to see there's moments in the game where if it's not going right for San Antonio, there's a little bit of frustration, and you certainly can't depend upon these, the young three every single night. I look for really as this series going on, I think you're going to get a couple more minutes with Parker, a couple more minutes with Ginobili, because this playoff basketball, right? Battle-tested teams. You have to have that veteran presence. Look, I know what happened the other night with Ginobili giving up the shot and dishing it off to Patty Mills, but I have a feeling that Pop is, I'm not saying tinker in the lineup, but you might see a couple more minutes for those vets.
I mean, you know the Q. I mean, Tony Parker has been playing pretty amazing. I mean, he's playing the best that I've seen him play throughout this playoffs. I mean, 20-point games this series, a 19-point game, really taking care of the ball. And Ginobili, I mean, he's always game for a big shot. No matter how much he's struggling, no matter how much his body is failing him, he's going to come up with a big shot. And when it comes to Tim Duncan, I'm not sure how much he has left. There are some concerns about his knees and how much he has left in those. So I'm not sure if we can see anything from Tim Duncan. It would be nice to see, but I think Ginobili and Tony Parker will definitely be huge when it comes to making just those savvy plays in the crunch time, because they may not be able to impose their will like a Kawhi Leonard, like a LaMarcus or a Russell and KD, but they've been around the game long enough. They've been in tight game situations, and I think those guys can come through with the big shots.
Scale 1 to 10, 10 being the highest. What are the chances that Phil Jackson is on the phone right now as we speak with Frank Vogel?
For the Knicks' sake, their fans, for their sanity, I'm gonna say 10. Q. I hope Phil's on the phone. I think Frank Vogel is the best coach on the market right now. And I mean, to see what he did with Indiana last year with Paul George and a bunch of solid pieces, I mean, that team overachieved. He's done a great job. I think he got a raw deal in Indiana. I think Frank Vogel would be a welcome addition to New York, only if he has the freedom to do his thing and not be just tied down to that triangle. That's the only concern that I have when it comes to New York and that Phil Jackson situation. But Frank Vogel will be an excellent choice. I hope Phil understands that. I think he's smart enough to know that Frank Vogel is that guy.
All right, next week the NBA draft lottery. A lot of people believe the Sixers will come away with the top overall pick. If I were to ask you right now, who's going to go 1 and 2 in the draft before we close it out?
Simmons Ingram. I know that's heavily debated, but I think teams are going to be mesmerized by Simmons, his potential as far as his 6'10", his size, his playmaking abilities. I feel like people are going to be mesmerized. But Ingram, I mean, his potential to be a KD type of scorer in this league is very special. So, but I think Simmons at the end of the day, his combination of size and skill and athleticism, I think that will put him over the top.
If the Lakers have the top pick, you think they pass on Simmons to get Ingram?
I would believe so. I wouldn't be surprised, because you got to think Simmons is a ball dominant type of player. You have a D'Angelo Russell who has shown the makings of a potential great point guard in this league. So you don't know how that mixture would develop. So if you had an Ingram, that solidifies something that they're missing on the wing, which is a proven scorer. So you have a D'Angelo Russell, a Jordan Clarkson, and a Brandon Ingram, Julius Randle. I mean, that's a pretty nice young core.
Always great stuff, my friend. Enjoy the rest of the playoffs. We'll talk next week. Appreciate it, pal.
All right, you take it.
All right, you got it. Jonathan Marshall, follow him on Twitter. Great follow on Twitter, ARN_John Marshall.